She walks toward him across a boundary almost no one was expected to cross. She is not Jewish. She stands outside Israel's covenant markers, outside its bloodline, its temple, its synagogue life, and its visible promises. She has no social standing before the disciples. No rabbi is expected to stop for her. No one in that world would have been surprised if she were ignored. She is a Canaanite woman. And in the world of Matthew's gospel, that description alone carries centuries of distance. But she does not stop. She keeps coming. She calls him, Son of David. She begs him to heal her daughter, who is tormented by a demon. And Jesus, the one who touched lepers, who stopped for blind beggars on the roadside, who welcomed sinners to his table, says nothing, not one word. And that silence is already difficult. But it is not the hardest part. The hardest part comes when the disciples finally ask Jesus to send her away because she keeps crying out after them. Then Jesus speaks. And what he says sounds, at first hearing, like something you would never expect from the mouth of the Son of God. He says, "I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." And when she kneels before him and says simply, "Lord, help me," Jesus answers, "It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." That sentence stops most readers cold. And it should. Because if you rush past the discomfort, you will miss the passage. But if you stay in the discomfort long enough to let Matthew explain what he is doing, this scene becomes one of the most radical moments of grace in the entire gospel. This is not a story about Jesus being cruel. It is not a story about an outsider being humiliated for no reason. It is a story about covenant order, desperate faith, the mercy of God, and a table that turns out to be much larger than anyone imagined. But to see that, we have to slow down. We have to look at the geography. We have to look at the Greek. We have to look at the structure of Matthew 15. And we have to pay attention to what happens immediately after this woman walks away healed, because Matthew does not place this story here by accident. So let us begin with where Jesus is and why that matters. Matthew 15 opens with a confrontation. The Pharisees and scribes come to Jesus from Jerusalem. That is not a casual detail. They have not simply wandered into the scene. They have come from the religious center of Israel to challenge him. Their question is about ritual purity. They ask why his disciples break the tradition of the elders by eating with unwashed hands. Jesus responds with one of his sharpest critiques in the gospel. He does not merely defend his disciples. He exposes the deeper problem. He says, they have allowed human tradition to override the commandment of God. He quotes Isaiah. He calls them hypocrites. Then he turns to the crowd and says something that shakes the whole conversation. It is not what goes into the mouth that defiles a person, but what comes out of the mouth. This is a major moment. Jesus is not dismissing holiness. He is redefining where defilement truly comes from. Not from contact with the wrong food, not from touching the wrong object, not from failing to observe a human tradition. Defilement comes from the heart. That is the conversation Matthew wants in your mind before the Canaanite woman ever appears. Because then, immediately after this confrontation about purity and defilement, Matthew writes, "Then Jesus went out from there and departed to the region of Tyre and Sidon." Slow down on that. Tyre and Sidon. This is not ordinary Jewish territory. These were ancient Phoenician cities on the Mediterranean coast, in the region of what is modern Lebanon. In the Hebrew scriptures, Tyre and Sidon often carried the weight of Gentile pride, wealth, and distance from the God of Israel. The prophets spoke against them. For many Jewish readers, these names would not have sounded neutral. So Matthew has just shown Jesus confronting religious leaders about what truly defiles a person, and then Jesus moves toward Gentile territory. The geography is theological. Matthew is telling you something before the woman even speaks. Jesus is moving into the borderlands. into a space where the categories of clean and unclean, insider and outsider, covenant people and nations are all going to be tested. And that is where she finds him. A woman from that region comes out crying. Matthew calls her a Canaanite woman. That word matters. Mark calls her a Syrophoenician woman, which is a geographic description. But Matthew chooses the word Canaanite. For a Jewish audience, that word carries deep historical memory. The Canaanites were not just generic foreigners. They represented the ancient inhabitants of the land, the people Israel was commanded to drive out, the people who stood on the far side of Israel's covenant identity. Matthew wants you to feel the distance. This woman is not almost inside. She is not nearly included. She is, in every visible way, outside the circle. And yet she comes. She cries out, "Have mercy on me, Lord. Son of David, my daughter is severely tormented by a demon." That address is remarkable. She calls him Lord. She calls him Son of David. That is not a casual title. Son of David is messianic language. It belongs to Israel's hope. It points to the promised king from David's line. This woman, from outside Israel, speaks of Jesus with a clarity that many insiders have not yet shown. She understands something, or at least, she sees enough to know where mercy is. Her daughter is severely tormented. Matthew's language is intense. This is not a minor inconvenience. This is a mother whose child is suffering under something she cannot control, cannot heal, and cannot escape. So she cries out, not politely, not formally. She cries like a desperate mother. And Jesus answers her not a word. That silence is one of the hardest silences in the New Testament. The disciples feel it too. They come to Jesus and say, "Send her away, for she is crying out after us." Notice what they are asking for. They are not moved by her pain. They are irritated by her noise. They do not say, "Heal her daughter." They say, in effect, "Make her stop." And then Jesus speaks. "I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Now this sentence is often misunderstood. Jesus is not saying that Gentiles have no place in God's final plan. Matthew's gospel itself will end with Jesus sending his disciples to make disciples of all nations. But during his earthly ministry, Jesus is operating within a particular redemptive order. Israel first. The promises made to the fathers must be confirmed. The Messiah comes to Israel. The covenant story reaches its climax in the Jewish Messiah before it flows outward to the nations. So this statement is not a random rejection. It is a mission statement. Jesus is naming the order of his earthly ministry. But the woman does not walk away. She comes closer, she kneels before him, and she says one of the shortest and most powerful prayers in the entire gospel. "Lord, help me." 3 words, no argument, no resume, no religious credentials, no attempt to explain why she deserves anything. Just this: "Lord, help me." There are moments when that is the only prayer left. When your theology is not gone, but it has become very simple. When you do not have the strength to build an argument. When all you can do is place your need in front of mercy and say, "Lord, help me." And then, Jesus says, the sentence that makes this passage so difficult: "It is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." Now we have to slow down, because every word matters. The children are Israel. The bread represents the blessings of the covenant, the healing, mercy, restoration, and kingdom power that Jesus has come to bring first to the people of promise. And the dogs are those outside that covenant household. There is no way to make the sentence comfortable. We should not pretend it is soft. We should not rush to explain away the offense before we have felt it. Jesus is naming a real distinction between Israel and the nations in the order of salvation history. But the Greek word matters. The word used here is not the harshest possible word for a street dog. It is Canarian, a diminutive form. It can mean little dogs, small dogs, household dogs. That does not erase the difficulty of the saying. It does not turn the sentence into a compliment, but it does shift the image. Jesus is not picturing wild scavengers outside in the street. He is using the image of little dogs under the household table. That is crucial, because in the metaphor, the dogs are not outside the house. They are inside the household space. They are not seated as children at the table, but they are near the table, under it, close enough for crumbs. So the statement still preserves the distinction. The children are the children. The dogs are the dogs. Israel has priority in the covenant story, but the image has already placed this woman closer than the disciples may have realized, and she catches it. She hears the metaphor. She understands the order, and instead of rejecting it, she enters it. She says, "Yes, Lord. Yet even the little dogs eat the crumbs that fall from their master's table." That response is astonishing. She does not argue with Jesus. She does not say, "There is no difference between Israel and the nations." She does not demand to be treated as one of the children. She accepts the framework, but then she presses into the mercy hidden inside it. She says, in effect, "Yes, Lord, I know the children eat first. I know where I stand. I am not asking you to overturn the order of your mission. I am not asking you to take bread away from Israel. I am only saying that even the crumbs from this table are enough. That is faith, not entitlement, not pride, not religious performance. Faith. She believes that a crumb of Jesus' mercy is stronger than the demon tormenting her daughter. She believes that even the overflow of his grace is enough. She believes that the table of the Messiah has more than enough bread. And Jesus answers her, "O woman, great is your faith. Let it be to you as you desire." And her daughter is healed from that very hour. Do not miss how rare that praise is. In Matthew's Gospel, Jesus does not casually tell people their faith is great. He says it to a Roman centurion in Matthew 8, and he says it here to a Canaanite woman in Matthew 15. Both are outsiders. Both stand beyond the normal boundaries of Israel's religious life. Both recognize Jesus with a clarity that many insiders lack, and both are commended for faith. Matthew is doing something deliberate. He is showing that the kingdom is not recognized merely by proximity to religious privilege. The religious leaders have clean hands and corrupt hearts. This woman has no standing, no status, no covenant markers, and yet her heart reaches toward Jesus with the kind of faith he calls great. That contrast is not accidental. Matthew has placed this story immediately after a debate about defilement because he wants you to see what truly matters. The Pharisees are worried about hands. Jesus is exposing hearts. And then, a woman from outside Israel appears with a heart full of desperate, humble, persistent faith. If this is helping you read Matthew 15 differently, subscribe for more studies like this. Now watch what Matthew does next, because the story is not finished. Immediately after the Canaanite woman's daughter is healed, Matthew says Jesus moves from there, goes along the Sea of Galilee, goes up on a mountain, and sits down. Great crowds come to him. They bring the lame, the blind, the mute, the maimed, and many others. And Jesus heals them. Then Matthew says the crowd marvels when they see the mute speaking, the maimed made whole, the lame walking, and the blind seeing, and they glorify the God of Israel. That phrase is important, the God of Israel. Many readers see this as a signal that the crowd is Gentile, or at least mixed. Matthew does not stop and give us a demographic report, so we should say it carefully. But the placement is unmistakable. Right after a Gentile woman asks for crumbs, Matthew shows a crowd receiving mercy. Right after Jesus speaks of children's bread, Matthew gives us another feeding miracle, and that is where the structure becomes powerful. Back in Matthew 14, Jesus fed 5,000 men, besides women and children, with 5 loaves and 2 fish. After that meal, 12 baskets were left over. 12 naturally echoes Israel, the 12 tribes, the people of promise. But here, in Matthew 15, after the Canaanite woman's plea, Jesus feeds 4,000 men, besides women and children, with 7 loaves and a few fish, and when everyone has eaten, 7 baskets are left over. 7 often suggests fullness or completeness. But even if we are cautious with the symbolism, the basic point is clear. The bread does not run out. There is more than enough. The mercy of Jesus is not diminished when it reaches beyond the first circle. The children's bread is not destroyed by the crumbs that fall. The table is larger than anyone imagined. The Canaanite woman asked for 1 crumb. 1 act of mercy, 1 miracle for 1 tormented daughter. But Matthew places her at a turning point in the story. She becomes the first sign of something that will one day become the mission to all nations. She does not yet see the Great Commission. She does not yet know that after the resurrection, Jesus will send his disciples to every nation on earth. She only knows her daughter needs mercy. But in asking for that mercy, she becomes a living preview of the gospel, going beyond Israel to the nations. This is why the story matters. It is not just a difficult saying explained. It is a window into the order and wideness of God's mercy. Now, serious readers often ask a difficult question here. Was Jesus testing her? Was the silence part of a deliberate lesson? Was he drawing the disciples into a moment they did not yet understand? The text does not let us enter every part of the interior logic of the exchange. It does not tell us everything we might want to know about the silence. But it does show us the outcome. And the outcome is clear. Jesus heals her daughter. He praises her faith. And the disciples are forced to watch an outsider become the example. That matters, because the disciples had wanted her sent away. But Jesus ends the scene by honoring her. The woman they found annoying becomes the woman Jesus praises. The outsider becomes the teacher. The one with no standing becomes the one with great faith. And in Matthew's gospel, that is a pattern. Matthew begins his gospel with a genealogy, and in that genealogy, he includes women. That alone is unusual in a first-century Jewish genealogy. But the women he includes are especially striking. Tamar, Rahab, Ruth, and the wife of Uriah. Each name carries complexity. Each story includes scandal, outsider status, Gentile connection, or unexpected grace. Rahab was from Jericho. Ruth was a Moabite. Bathsheba is identified through Uriah the Hittite. Matthew opens the story of Jesus by showing that the Messiah's line has always carried surprising signs of grace moving through unexpected people. So when we arrive at Matthew 15 and meet a Canaanite woman whose faith receives one of Jesus' highest commendations, we should not treat her as a random interruption. She belongs to Matthew's deeper pattern. The nations were never an afterthought. The mercy of God was always moving toward the edges. The promise to Abraham was never only that Israel would be blessed, but that through Abraham's seed, all the families of the earth would be blessed. This woman stands at the edge of that promise. She is not sitting at the table yet, but she knows there are crumbs, and she knows whose table it is. That is why her answer is so brilliant. She does not say, "I deserve the bread." She does not say, "There is no order." She does not say, "There is no distinction." She says, "Yes, Lord." That may be the most important part of her answer. She submits to the truth Jesus has spoken, and then she appeals to the mercy contained within it. "Yes, Lord. But even the little dogs eat the crumbs." She finds hope inside the very metaphor that seemed to exclude her. That is why Jesus calls her faith great. Because great faith does not always look like confidence. Sometimes it looks like humility that refuses to let go. Sometimes it looks like a mother on her knees. Sometimes it looks like 3 words, Lord, help me. And maybe that is where this passage becomes personal. Because many people know what it feels like to stand outside the room where grace seems to be happening. You look at people with the right background, the right story, the right family, the right spiritual confidence, and you wonder if someone like you has a place. You wonder if you are too late, too far, too broken, too foreign to the promises, too outside the circle. This story was written for that place, because this woman was as far outside the expected circle as a person could be. She had no visible claim, no status, no disciple speaking on her behalf, no religious credential, only a daughter in pain and a desperate faith that knew one thing. If mercy is anywhere, it is with him. And that was enough. Not because she earned it. Not because she forced Jesus against his will. Not because she won a debate. But because she understood something many people close to Jesus had not yet understood. A crumb from him is enough. A crumb of his mercy is not small. A crumb of his power is not weak. A crumb from the Messiah's table can heal what no one else can touch. That is why the final word of the story is not insult. It is not silence. It is not rejection. The final word is healing. The final word is commendation. O woman, great is your faith. Think about that. Jesus says this publicly. He does not whisper it in private. He says it in front of the disciples, the very people who wanted her dismissed. The woman who had no standing becomes in that moment the standard. The outsider becomes the example. The one they wanted to send away becomes the one Jesus holds up. That pattern runs through the whole Bible. Rahab the Canaanite, Ruth the Moabite, Naaman the Syrian, a Roman centurion, a Samaritan leper, a thief on a cross. Again and again, the person everyone expects to be outside becomes the person who shows what faith really is. So what do we do with this passage? First, we learn not to mistake silence for final rejection. Jesus' silence in this story is hard. It is supposed to be hard, but it is not the end of the story. This woman does not walk away when he says nothing. She keeps coming. She changes posture. She kneels. She simplifies her prayer. She presses closer to mercy. Persistence in prayer is not always unbelief. Sometimes persistence is the deepest form of faith. You keep asking because you still believe he is the only one who can answer. Second, we learn that honest prayer does not require pretending. The woman never pretends to be something she is not. She does not dress up her standing. She does not present credentials. She does not argue that she has earned the bread. She simply says, Lord, help me. That prayer is enough. There are days when you cannot say anything more. There are days when all the words collapse. There are days when theology becomes very short. Lord, help me. And Scripture shows us that such a prayer can be full of faith. Third, we learn that God's mercy moves according to promise, but it is never smaller than promise. Jesus does not deny Israel's place. He does not erase the order of salvation history. He does not pretend the children and the dogs are the same thing in the metaphor. But he also reveals that the mercy given to Israel was always meant to overflow. The bread was always more than enough. The promise was always moving toward the nations. The table was always larger than the disciples imagined. And that brings us back to the sentence that started all of this. Why did Jesus call a Canaanite woman a dog? Because he was naming the covenant order of his mission in a metaphor his world understood. But why did he use the form he used? Because the metaphor contained more mercy than it first appeared to contain. The little dogs were not outside the house. They were under the table. And why did the woman answer the way she did? Because she heard the mercy inside the metaphor. She knew she did not need to steal the children's bread. She only needed one crumb. And Jesus gave her more than a crumb. He gave her the healing she asked for. He gave her public honor. He gave her a place in the gospel story as one of the clearest examples of great faith. So the hardest moment in Matthew 15 does not end as a story of exclusion. It ends as a story of mercy crossing a boundary. It ends with an outsider praised. It ends with a daughter healed. It ends with a table that turns out to have more bread than anyone thought. The table is larger than you think it is, and the bread never runs out. If this changed how you read Matthew 15, subscribe for more deep studies like this. Leave a comment with one word or one sentence, whatever stayed with you. And if someone in your life feels too far outside the circle for grace to reach them, share this with them. Because Matthew 15 is not only about a woman from Canaan, it is about the mercy of God meeting someone at the edge of the table. And it is about the faith that looks at even a crumb from Jesus and says, "That is enough." God bless you.